Hey everybody, it's Monday, which means this is the start of a new week. We are in week 3. First and foremost, before I forget, it is that time for you to order the textbooks for your next course. So if you have a class that is going to start right after this one, today, tomorrow, this week, you need to find out what those course textbooks are and order them so that they are at your front door by the time or before, hopefully, your next course begins. Do not delay. If you need to, you can go to the Blackboard store and order them there, or contact your upcoming professor and get the ISBN numbers for your textbooks and order them through Amazon, whatever you like. All right, so this week, week 3, got some things to talk about here because we are entering the halfway point of the course, and it's going to go by really, really quickly. Let me just say, so far, been really impressed with how discussion threads are going. You all are a very astute and intelligent bunch. I'm really enjoying the conversations. I'm actually having a really hard time keeping up with everybody because things are just happening so quickly. But this week we are going to focus on ancient literature genres, the different types of genres and books in the collection of books that we call the Bible contain. We talked a little bit about this before briefly, just how the Bible is a collection of ancient documents, and not all of them are the same, right? So we have Gospels, and we have epistles, and we have apocryphal literature, and we have poetic literature, and wisdom literature, and history, and so there are all kinds of genres, and we're focusing mostly in this course in the book of Ephesians, which is an ancient letter, which is a type of genre. And so we are going to discuss that in this week. Reading, we cover a lot of reading territory in this book, so skim what you need to skim, focus on what you need to focus on. But chapters 14 through 17 this week, and the same discussion question routine is in order here. And then also your assignments. Note that from the workbook, 15-1, 15-2, 17-2 are due by Sunday night. And yes, we will be having a go-to meeting live at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time this Thursday. Tune in for that if you are able. I will work through these assignments with you as best I can. We don't get into great depth on each one, but I certainly give you some helpful tips, and we'll just get as far as we can with the time that we have. Also, continue to work on your exegetical paper, and I will get to some specific instructions about that in just a moment. But also then following that in week 5 is your learning team paper. You should be having conversations within your learning team groups, and utilizing the collaboration features as well as the discussion boards in your learning teams to figure out who is going to do what. Those guidelines, I have guidelines outlined for you. Let's go there right now to the discussions, and I click on general questions, and you can see right here learning team final paper expectations. So I lay it out for you in this discussion thread as far as how your paper should look and how it should feel and the length and all of that business. But just remember this, a well-organized paper that is shorter is going to earn more points for your group than a very disorganized longer paper. And so if there's somebody in your group who is very good at shortening things, making things tighter, making things cleaner, more well organized, maybe that's that person's job, is to put the paper into its final form so it makes sense for me as the reader. That decision's up to you how you handle that. But I also want to draw your attention to, as I mentioned a moment ago, the exegetical paper expectations. All right, this is a big assignment. It's worth a lot of points, so it carries a lot of weight in this course. Now, fully realize that the vast majority of you are not going to go on and become ministers or pastors. You are entering into nursing and business and other educational related fields, and so I don't expect this to be a graduate level exegetical paper like I had to do in seminary by any means. This is learning to apply the interpretive journey to a specific passage from the book of Ephesians. And just remember that. That's what we're doing here in this course. We're learning about the interpretive journey and learning how to apply the steps. And this paper is a very practical application of your learning and how well you can apply the 5 steps of the interpretive journey. And so I put the exegetical paper expectations here for you. You can click on this, and I have an attachment for you which will bring you up to this Word document. So let's just take a look at this really quickly, and then we'll be done. The point breakdown is for you. That's already in the course syllabus. Nothing is different here. Notice that the bulk of the points is in your content, and so make note of that. You want the body of your paper to be the most substantive part of your paper. 150 points due at the end of week 4, and then include, okay, so here you go. Here's what you're going to include. A title page, and I've even provided a sample for you to look at. You can imitate the title page. Then you're going to go ahead and do one page after your title page. You're going to do a one page that communicates the main idea and outline of the text. And so I just simply here put down, identify the text you have chosen. You may want to include that, right? You want to actually type out the passage that you have. Then the main idea or main ideas are the equivalent of forming a theological principle. So if you can summarize your paper into one sentence, what would it say? Okay, as a pastor, we're often taught, should be able to talk about your sermon, right, in as little as 3 sentences, 3 minutes, 30 minutes, or 3 hours, or you can use any arbitrary number really. But the point is can you talk about it long enough, and can you, for like say 3 hours, can you talk about this topic for 3 hours? Can you talk about it for 30 minutes to engage a congregation? Can you summarize it to a person in an elevator ride in 3 minutes or less, or something like that, or 30 seconds or less? But the point is distill your paper into a sentence or 2 at the most, and then present a full outline of your passage, showing how your main idea then that you just shared with me unfolds throughout your passage. So that information and example is provided for you. And then you're going to get into the bulk or the body of your paper by providing an introduction, 1 to 2 paragraphs, and I've given you some tips on how to do that here. And then you're getting into the context. This is a part of the paper you should have done already in week 1 as you did your background research on the historical cultural context of Paul and Ephesus. And so you have done this work already. You should be able to copy and paste and organize your information so that it makes sense in this part of the paper, and that's 1 to 2 pages. So some of you wrote a lot more than 2 pages, but really you're going to have to try and distill that information down, because 16 exegetical papers at roughly 6 pages each is a lot of reading for me. So really distill it down as best you can. Then you're going to go ahead and get into the heart of your paper. And so I've just outlined again some tips for you to follow. Here are some things for you to also avoid. Avoid including everything that you have learned everything that you've come across in your research. It's so tempting in these situations to over communicate, to overshare, to just there's too much extraneous information that is not helpful, and so it's going to be extremely important for you to stay focused on the main idea of your paper. Whatever that main idea is, you want to build the content around your main idea. Okay. Avoid preaching to the reader. This isn't a sermon. This is an exegetical paper. Share your learning with me. Just keep that in mind. Also, I've mentioned this before. Stay focused. Avoid losing sight of the goal of explaining the meaning of the text. Okay, focus on the interpretive journey that you are on. Also, avoid long quotations. Okay, long quotations for me are, how do I say this? Long quotations don't tell me anything about what you're learning. Long quotations simply tell me that you have the ability to cut and paste other people's work into your work. So avoid long quotations. What's better? Make your point. Develop your point. And then use your research to support your position instead of the other way around. I would rather you develop your point and support it with a good quotation than for you to provide a quotation and just embrace that as your point. You know what I mean? It's a little tricky, but I want you to tell me what you're learning. I am not as interested in what other people have written as much as I am interested in what you are learning in this course. And also, try to avoid ignoring the debate, right? So sometimes you will encounter tensions between interpreters and scholars. And so don't avoid don't avoid the debate. Engage it. Present the sides that are being debated, and then determine which side you're on, or if you're stuck in the middle, and talk about it. So engage the debate rather than avoid it. And then last but not least, give me as a reader, or if you were to give your paper to someone, or you were to share it with a friend, what is the very practical application here? Be specific. And so if everyone applied, here's the question, right? If everyone applied your theological principle, how would the world, how would your church, how would the city that you live in, how would your neighborhood or your family or the person sitting next to you be different if they applied your theological principle in their life? All right. So you don't have to engage all of those subcultures, but certainly keep that question in your mind. How would the world be different if I applied your theological principle in my life? And so flesh that out for me about a page, and then wrap it up with a bibliography. If you do the math, that's roughly 6 pages, not including your title page. Just keep that in mind as you write. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm here to serve you, and I look forward to this week's discussion. And if anything else comes up, please let me know. I appreciate you guys so much, and I really, really have enjoyed how this course has been going so far. Keep up the great work, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.